everybody. Welcome to Nexus at Night, your weekly Vanguard podcast, brought to you by our patrons at patreon.com/Nexus at Night. I'm Atlas.
I'm Matt.
Fuck Skype.
And our fourth today, he is a YouTuber known as, TeamGalaxyBrain?
Yeah, TeamGalaxyBrain is the channel name, but I go by many names. TeamGalaxyBrain, Premium Chad, Ty, you can call me basically whatever you want, but I'm very glad to be here.
Yeah, because the reason we invited you on was you put up a video explaining why Overtriggers are dumb.
Yes. I truly believe that they might be, now it's not quite up there with GIFs, but it might be one of the worst Vanguard mechanics ever created in terms of practicality, because in concept I think they're great, but in practicality they are just horrible. They're just horrendous.
Yeah,
when talking with lots of like friends in my in some of my Discord servers, they're like, Overdress is like really, really well put together, and then there are Overtriggers.
It's taking a 10 out of 10 card game down to like an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's really that bad.
It's that one friend in the group of friends that shows up, you're like, motherfucker. We were gonna have a nice night until you showed up. Who told him? So, whenever I've been talking with friends of mine who are pro Overtrigger, my response is to show them your video, which, again, it'll be down in the description if you want to go check that out. Lots of nice memes and visuals to go along with the points he's making, which is Overtriggers are dumb, which, if you've listened to this show for more than 8 seconds, we do, in fact, agree with that.
Yeah, can I just say that video took me, I want to say, like, 20 hours to edit, and it's not even 10 minutes long, and that is not my most viewed video. My crappy ReZero Among Us voice acting one is. So I swear to God, if you do not click the link in the description and watch that video and make the Vanguard video my most viewed video, I can't really do anything to you because I don't know where you live, but, like, I can be very upset at you from a distance, like a very far distance.
He just going
to be very sad if you don't click on the video.
Yeah, I'll be very upset because I swear my Among Us video is reaching 10K views and I don't want it. I don't want this. I am ashamed of that video. Why does it exist?
If it makes you feel any better, there is a music video out there where I play a chronic masturbator that has over 2 million views. It's out there.
Have we heard this story before, Atlas?
You have. He hasn't.
But yes. The general consensus of Overtriggers now, I feel like now that we've gotten a few, like, we've seen Premium, we just got BSF for Premium this last weekend. Congratulations to the winners. But we've seen that Overtriggers, even in Premium, when we thought they weren't going to cause much of an impact, can still cause an impact. And the question is, well, do we now have to bring up this discussion again? Because I think that after I posted my video, Vanguardians exploded, Overtrigger discussions are started up again, and it's like we all kind of unanimously agreed that Overtriggers were bad, except for like maybe 2 or 3 people who think they're good. Now, again, if you like Overtriggers, I must preface this: if you like Overtriggers, that is a different discussion, and I will not say you're not allowed to like things, but you got to acknowledge that the mechanic itself is incredibly inherently flawed. And it doesn't work. It says something when even like a game like Gate Ruler has a one of ace card mechanic that's more balanced than Overtriggers.
What's the
or even like even back when Pokemon had ace specs, it was like less of a BS thing. It was just kind of like that card's really strong.
Yeah. No, because the thing with that was you could choose when you activate that. The thing I don't like about Overtriggers the most is the fact that you cannot choose when you activate an Overtrigger. If you draw an Overtrigger, you do not get to resolve its effect. The only way that you get the power of an Overtrigger is if you check it in a damage check or a drive check.
Right. I was having a conversation pretty early on with, I guess, or maybe like several weeks ago with DMOC in Proof Chord about kind of like how like he was trying to equate the Overtrigger to something like Effect Veiler when it first came out in Yu-Gi-Oh! I was like, well, the difference, and I kind of brought up what you were saying, is the difference is like you kind of know when your opponent's looking to Veiler you.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like this random thing that's like sometimes, like, you know, like your opponent, no decision process of their own, just Valors you randomly. Like, that's not how it happens. It's like they're looking for something to Valor, right?
It's actually, I took that fact into account when I was designing one of my 2 solutions for the Overtrigger. Actually, there are 3 solutions. I lied to you just now. One of my 3 solutions for the Overtrigger. But first, I want to discuss the one that you guys brought up, because that is the reason I am here, is to discuss the one that you guys were thinking of. And at first I was like, no, that wouldn't make a difference. But after thinking about it, I can see it, and I've been weighing the pros and cons of it. So let's hear it for the audience, because I already know what it is. What is your suggestion for changing the Overtrigger?
Okay, well, first, Root Beer, you were the one who told me. I don't know if you came up with it or if you heard it from somewhere else.
I think I've heard variations of the idea. I remember Proof first posting that if they were 30,000 power, but then I think I kept it around 50,000 as just symmetry with the shield value.
Yeah, so instead of getting 100 million power when driver damage checking it, it gives 50,000 power for the turn, keeps the shield value, keeps the like additional effect on the drive check and the pseudo heal on the damage check. So we're wondering if Bushiroad was to, I don't know, let's say they like reprint in like a few sets down the road the same Overtriggers and then just ban the old ones, right?
Yes. So at first I thought, no, there's no way this will make a difference. What the hell are you talking about? But then I was like, okay, let's think about it for 5 seconds, because that's what we do here. We sit down, we take ideas that we think are stupid, and turns out they're not actually stupid, like this one. So the pros of this are as follows. Pros, obviously the attacks actually become guardable. Sure, you have to throw down possibly 4 or more cards from your hand, but at least you're able to actually guard the attacks. You can still PG them, just like original Overtriggers, and you can use your own Overtrigger in your hand to essentially cancel out the power buff, which in that way, it makes it a lot more interesting to have the Overtrigger in hand. Because right now, if the Overtrigger is in your hand and your opponent checks an Overtrigger, you kind of just look at it like, wow, you're just useless. I can't believe that you have 50,000 shield value and you aren't just a 1-card perfect guard. But the cons are obviously still it's a very, very high number, and the extra effects. This doesn't address the extra effect issue where like the Dragon Empire one is okay, the Stoica one is the worst one but still very good, the Brant one is funny, the Keter one is busted beyond any comprehension of the word. The Dark States one is also, if you check it early enough, busted beyond any comprehension of the word.
Well, the Keter one is like the least good the earlier you check it, because like if you check it turn 1, you're like, oh, cool, great.
Oh, great.
But the percentage chance of checking the Overtrigger is kind of weighted toward when you're already on grade 3.
Yeah.
Which it's always good for Keter if you're on grade 3.
Yeah.
The chances of it also are like really low in the early game, but like the later you get in the game, the more cards you're drawing, the more you're spinning your deck, the more the higher the chance of you getting the Overtrigger actually becomes.
You're also just checking more drive checks. You're also just getting more drive checks.
And the fact that the Keter Sanctuary deck one is in the clan that includes Bastion. It's like, in God's name, you are now adding 6 cards to your hand instead of 2. But in terms of, is that good? Of course it's good. Of course, what? If a judge came to your table and said, "Would you like to draw 6 cards, sir?" I'm saying yes. I don't care if it's cheating. I'm saying yes. I'm taking the 6 cards. Judge said I could do it. But no, like it does, however, make the Overtriggers in hand easier to interact with. More likely to interact with the Overtrigger, not easier. So in that way, I feel like we still have the core issues, but they're sort of, I want to say, softened in that regard. But
well, because the number goes from fuck you to big.
Yes,
which is a decrease.
It goes from PG or die to, hey, you got an Overtrigger in hand there, buddy? Like, it's still a game swinger.
Or as Gabe would say, PG or GG.
Oh, that's good. I'm stealing that. That's mine
now.
That's my meme now. That's my meme now. We live on the internet. It's my meme now. It's mine. I'm not giving credit.
Helpful, thanks.
No, but I feel like that is one of the potential changes. I've also heard people say that they want to change it to a 10k power buff. Considering how powerful the effects are and that they are essentially your 5th heal trigger that also draw you a card, I am not totally opposed to this. So let's imagine it was 10k for just like 1 second here. Let's take the three big situations when you check the Overtrigger are offensively when you're about to win, defensively when you're about to lose, and offensively when you're in the early game. Defensively, when you're about to lose, it's still a heal trigger. It still draws you a card. And because we don't have Excel circles in this format, thank fuck, we don't have to worry about multiple attacks possibly treading all over our faces. We don't have to worry about Gurgit doing 11 attacks on grade 3. We don't have to worry about Narukami whipping out Cho-Os. We got 3 attacks at least, and a defensive heal trigger that also draws you a card would still put you in a good situation. Offensively, early game, it's just a draw card. Like it is just a useless trigger that draws you a card, which in that way puts it on the same level as maybe a crit trigger in the early game when you're like, oh cool, I got a crit early, or a front trigger in the early game. You're like, oh crap, this is useless, but you still get the additional effect. So Drag Veda still lets you stand your Vanguard. Stoica can still let you draw another card and give a critical. Like the additional effects are still good early game. So the lack of 3 quadrillion power doesn't matter. And then offensively in the late game, the same applies. The later into the game you go, the Keter one gets better. The Dragon Empire one gets better. The Stoica one might get better because you have more damage than your opponent. So all of these things are still powerful, but they're not PG or GG, as you would say.
Yeah. The Stoichea one would get better also because in addition to removing itself from the game and being a pseudo heal, it also lets you heal, so the back end of that gets better while also not completely shutting down the opponent's turn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like it's if it keeps the additional effects and it work on offensive, obviously, because defensive that would mean that Stoica would be the only good. Actually, no, Dark States would also be good. Stoica would be the only good defensive Overtriggers. But yeah, I feel like making the power gain to 10,000 is something that would not only make it a lot more manageable, but also you would still. People are like, now they don't have as much impact. Have you read the Keter one? Have you read the Keter one? Again, draw 6.
Yeah, like draw 6 cards, have a critical every turn.
Yeah,
even restanding your Vanguard is usually something that your deck is like designed around.
That's still drawing extra cards.
Well, there's that, and then it's also in this early stage of the game, like it's a 4th attack, and like a 4th attack means something right now.
Like, that means that your opponent has to throw more cards out of hand. Like, it doesn't do as much drive checks as the Keter one, but it gives you an additional attack, which, in my opinion, is just as valuable because it takes cards out of the opponent's hand.
Yes. The Dark State, like, now, by doing that, you have, like, weighted Overtriggers based on which nation they are and whether they're in the front, better in the front or the back 9 if you're using golf terms.
Yeah. I have never heard golf terms in Vanguard before. I can cross that one off the bucket list.
I was on the golf team in high school, and I fully acknowledge that it's not a sport. So,
it certainly exists.
It is a stupid, wasteful game that land used for golf courses should be used for apartments or just wildlife. Fuck golf courses. Moving on. So having it as a 10k trigger just with the over effects.
Yeah.
I feel like with what Bouchard was trying to do with the concept of overdress isn't really fulfilled there, though, because I think they're trying to show, like, this is a big deal. And
yeah, fair.
And, like, whether or not it's good from a gameplay perspective, when has Bouchard ever done that? On purpose,
that's a fair argument, but at the same time, though, this is a new design team. A lot of the complaints, so a lot of the, like, oh, Bushy won't ban anything for premium because it's Bushy, or, oh, Bushy won't solve the game because it's Bushy, or, oh, Bushy won't stop giving Mega Colony units boobs because it's bushy and stuff like that. It's like, first of all, someone actually complained about that. I'm like, who cares? It's Mega Colony. The deck's never been good.
One of these things is not like the other. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I was trying to think of a third one, and I'm like, wait, shit. I started a third one, and I didn't have one. Insect boobs. There, we got it, boys. We got there. But no, like the people say, oh, Bushy won't do this. This is a new design team. We have to remember this going into these kind of discussions. Now the question is, do these designers care more about a balanced game experience over spectacle? Because that's what kind of ruined V from the start. Actually, I feel like V has never really been good, in my opinion. That's quite a hot take, I know. But like even at the start, it was spectacle over design. It was, does it look cool versus instead of does it function in a balanced game environment. And you could see this as early as even Phantom Blaster Dragon from Shadow Paladin. That deck was kind of like, yeah, it was balanced, but dealing a damage is, that's a broken gimmick that I don't think would ever get broken if we ever printed it on a card later in the future ever. Looks at Gasteel. But balance over game design is something that Bushiroad used to do, and this new team hasn't really proven yet which one they lean towards. I think we'll know where their priorities lie once we see that premium ban list that we know is coming. It's coming. We don't need to ask them. It is coming, but that's when we will get to see what Bushiroad's priorities really are. Do they care more about game balance, or do they care more about this is a cool thing that you can do and it's really spectacle, it looks amazing, and it's really cool to pull off?
I think they want, well, like we've said this before, but I think they wanted to wait for hard data from their data sets via Springfest, I think, before they started making decisions.
Right.
Which they can now do. So
I actually just don't think it's enough, even.
There is no excuse for no ban list now. Like, Bushy, you now have your data. Where's the ban list? But that
I don't think it'll ever. I don't think it'll be enough cards. Like them, like already like reprinting the stands is like kind of bad. But
we'll see. But that was a tangent to go on to the idea that we don't know what this new design team's priorities are. So with saying, oh, Bushiroad won't change it because they won't care about game balances. Yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from, but I'm willing to give them a little more slack because it's a new team entirely. I don't think they should necessarily, I guess, pay for the crimes of the last design team, which, by the way, if you know your history about that last design team, Jesus Christ, why'd they ever get hired?
Wait. What happened with them?
Okay, so do you know the game Duel Masters?
Yes.
Okay, they are responsible for making one of the most game-warping mechanics in Duel Masters, a second extra deck that you draw cards from randomly.
So just a second deck, then?
Not necessarily, because you don't put these in your hand. You put them directly into play.
Oh.
I've heard of this, or I've heard of what they did before.
Yeah.
And mostly like through like other people, and it was not
They screwed over Duel Masters, which thankfully I can say Duel Masters is looking in a pretty good state now that someone else has come in and fixed their garbage. But why did they get thrown onto Vanguard? We knew that would happen. Why did you do that, Bushy? But no, this new design team, they might hear our complaints about Overtriggers, and they might go, okay, so they want them changed. We thought it was a cool idea. The players clearly don't think the same way we do. Maybe we should fix them.
Yeah, and it's an easy fix, too, like you said. Just 6 cards, done. We're done. That's it.
Yeah. 6 new cards, change the power. Maybe even just an errata. Because I don't think new players will necessarily give to... Because, like, okay, let's say that the new... Because I know that they said they were going to do more print runs of the start decks and the booster sets. They could have later print runs have the fully errata version. Because if a new player is going to get into the game after the errata, they're going to go purchase a pack of cards from their local game store that probably just came out, right? A new player will always look towards what's the newest cards and what can I use to power up my deck. And they'll purchase those packs. They'll see the Overtriggers, go, oh, these give 10,000 power. Neat. And then when they see that one gives 100 million power, there is no excuse for not knowing these things. You have Facebook, you have Discord, you have Google, you have all sorts of places you can go to look up or even ask a question like, hey, this card says this card says this, which is the real version?
Yeah. And
so clearly it's a change that Bushiroad doesn't even need to ban the old triggers to do.
Yeah,
they can just put it on the new ones.
Hell, if you squint, you can probably be like, that looks like 10. Okay.
Yeah,
because it's like just in the top corner. You're like,
yeah,
all right.
I mean, we've already had to do erratas with the whole grade 1 in Dark States having the Persona Ride icon.
What a sick card! That card's busted.
They tried.
Bro, grade 1 gaming too strong.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there is
return of grade 1 rush.
Dude, that's actually something in this format that I'm really happy to see come back. Like grade 1 rush is actually good in this format, but I digress. I really feel like they could just change the number of power, or this is gonna be this is one that I have actually not told anyone I want to make a video on it, but screw it. Here we go. This is gonna get me crucified in some capacity. What if we made the Overtrigger something that you could activate at any time?
Like we alluded to this at the beginning of the episode. You did.
Yeah. What if this is something that you could do, and I like it's in a zone separate from your main deck? Instead of performing a check, you move your Overtrigger into your trigger zone.
Okay.
All right. So think of it this way: my opponent checks an aggressive Overtrigger, decides to go. You know what? I want to win this turn. Aggressive Overtrigger. Let's go. And they're thinking the only way that they get out of this is if they waste their Overtrigger. But wait. You have a PG in your hand. You sly dog, you. So what you do is you survive their turn, punish them for getting so aggressive, and then beat them with your own Overtrigger next turn that they can't defend because they blew their load on their own Overtrigger. Or, if you wanted to, you can play it defensively. Wait until they drop theirs, then drop yours. Or you could just go balls to the walls from the beginning. The only issue with this, however, is the Dark States Overtrigger. Mm-hmm. That is the only issue with this new philosophy, is that Dark States will now have access to 10k power and a crit every single game.
Yes, but
I think they'd have to do some. They would have to have some sort of balancing factor, the way like Ultimate Stride worked.
Yeah.
Wait, I was gonna say, doesn't Barrow Magnus just have that?
Barrow Magnus does have a crit, but actually, that's the reason why people playing have been playing the Cray Elemental one in Barrow Magnus as of recently, because Barrow Magnus already gives himself a crit every turn. But 3 crit versus 2 crit is still incredibly powerful. But yeah, I feel like this is something they obviously can't implement now. Maybe they could if they were crackheaded. Like, if Bushiroad goes and finds that cocaine that I know they have stored in their office, because why else would they make a lot of the cards in V or any of the cards in Premium Collection? And if they sniffed that stuff and they went, wait, what if we made it so that Overtriggers can be used in anything at any time, and they implemented it, they would obviously have to do some balance changes with how some of the cards work.
They would probably have to do it like a Blitz order. Right? Where it's just used during that guard step to, get the effect off.
More so, like, I'm thinking maybe they would have to errata the additional effects to only work on maybe if both players are at grade 3 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like that, then we bring back grade 2 gaming. Oh, yeah. I've made G era.
Yeah.
I never liked grade 2 gaming as a thing.
You monster! How dare you? That was the most fun part of G for me.
So what if they made it so that, like, if you use your Overtrigger, like, both players have to be at grade 3, and you couldn't ride the next turn, so, like...
Yeah. Oh, turn off Persona Ride for it.
Aha! Yes. Mm-hmm. This is something that, if they, like, sat down and they, like, I don't know, went crazy enough, they could possibly pull it off. But, again, that one's a lot less reasonable than just making them 10k. Like...
Yeah. I feel like even just, like...
Sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Sorry. Like, even just going from... not 100 million to
yes.
Like 100 million sounds like something a 4-year-old made up while they were playing outside. They're like, I got 100 million power, and you're like,
well, I have infinity power.
Yeah.
No, I have infinity +1.
Yeah, exactly. That's basically what it feels like.
Right. I'm waiting for it. Buddy Fight got it. Why can't we have it? I'm waiting for it.
Yeah. or do it like Yu-Gi-Oh did with like the what's it called? The Legendary Knight thing.
Oh yeah. I have a power greater than infinity.
Now, one thing that I think it pisses me off the most about Overtrigger, and this is going to be really stupid, so I just want to preface that with that.
Oh, let's go. I love stupid things. Let's go.
So when you're playing Bastion, right? and your opponent like
This is
calls
gonna
some
be
stuff
great.
at 2, and is about to give you that second damage,
Yeah.
and you're like, and you're like the little like cartoon guy, like yeah, and then you take the Overtriggers damage, and you're just like,
Sir, have you
I
ever played Orphist?
I hate it. Well, no, I would never do that to myself.
Whoa, oh, hey, that's the best deck. How dare Whoa, wait a minute. Sir, I regret coming here. You have blasphemed in my church.
You're in our church. What are you talking about?
No, but like, so that's another thing. Like, I've been playing because Orphist is the best deck because he looks like Chaos Breaker, so he's immediately the best deck, right? And I've been but the best deck. Let's go. I've been playing Orphist a lot because I like the aesthetics, and I'll be like, yes, he's giving me the second damage. It's happening. Yes, I'm gonna go off. I'm gonna pop off next turn. 30k columns. Overtrigger for damage. I'm done. I hate this game.
Throw the deck across the room.
I hate this game so much.
It's the same feeling as like back in Limit Break days, the healing yourself from 4 to 3. You're like, fuck.
Oh, I loved break riding Tetra Drive, attacking with Tetra Drive, checking that heal to 3. Oh yeah.
Tetra Drive is the best card.
And for some reason that card says at the end of battle. Who knows?
They fixed it in Zero.
Some of my fondest memories. This is a random story, but some of my fondest memories, like when I first started playing Vanguard, was like near the end of G era, and I was getting my friend Dean into it. Shout outs to you, Dean, if you're watching. I love you. You're great. But his first deck was Blouse in late G era, and every time he had full combo with the limit break on and everything, heal trigger.
Oh yeah.
And because he was playing Blau, he was always losing, so it always went off. It was the saddest thing ever. I had never felt more sad. He immediately got rid of that deck and bought Gizeh.
Understandable.
Yeah.
I kid you not. His first competitive deck was like full power Angel Gizeh because he was sick of losing with Blouse.
Jeez.
Matt knows the pain of getting the most run card never and getting the least run card always.
I mean, that's why you just play one of your best playmakers. You'll always draw them. Smile.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we call that Barber's Law around these parts. This is last name.
Great.
Yeah.
Never seen him live.
Never seen him. But yeah, like all you need to do is take the Overtrigger, make it not 100 million power. Boom. Card solved. Well, not solved, but
better.
Manageable.
Yeah,
manageable.
I will always like the clean solution of just saying you can no longer play these.
I would like for them to just go. Like
yeah.
Just die, please. I don't like my opponent drawing 6 cards because they're playing the best deck. That seems pretty cringe. No, well, okay. Sorry, best deck according to the crazy people in the pro circuit, right? But me, a normal person, I know the best deck is actually Orphist, right? I know what the actual best deck is.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Okay. So I feel like this would be a good transition into the other topic we have for the episode, which is let's say you get rid of that Overtrigger with the quote clean solution, and then we just go back to triggers like normal. Yep. I feel like Bushiroad is a bit hesitant to put like effects on triggers that mean a lot after the insert every broken stand trigger from G era here. Raven, Taro, Cat of Nightmare
all the ones
Land.
that need to be banned in the upcoming.
Yeah,
they all literally just needed a hard once per turn. That's all you had to do, Bushy.
Yeah, I think that's just it. I feel like every TCG eventually gets there. Like Yu-Gi-Oh's already reached there. They're like, we just put hard once per turn on stuff.
Yeah.
You know that Zodiac Chakanine doesn't have a hard once per turn on it?
I did not know that.
Isn't that crazy?
No.
That's a scary concept.
Yes, that is crazy. No, I did not know that. Sorry. Anyway, so they revealed in the next set that every nation is getting a front trigger with the effect that what is it like? It gets 5k shield.
Yeah, it gets like 5k shield if you're a grade 3, I believe, and then they also grant 20,000 power.
Wait,
what?
Holy shit! I didn't even see that.
Wait, they give 20,000?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure they do.
I need this man to come with me in my daily life and just react to shit that happens to me. He has
wait a minute.
the
Hold
best.
on. Where's
Well, I have to find this now.
I know, right? I didn't see
I was
the
like looking at it, I'm like, wait, the power number looks a little weird. Is that a 2?
There's
no,
no
it's
way.
a 10. No, it's a 10. It's a 10,000. No, okay.
Please tell me. Wait, hold on. I'm still confirming. Wait.
Oh,
Shit.
yeah, it's 10,000. Sorry, I just read
But
it
it's
wrong.
You lied to me. No, I was so hyped.
All right.
I was so hyped.
Sorry.
So because but they are only 4,000 power like printed on the card.
Yeah,
Okay.
But that's like not.
Oh, who cares?
So,
that
so-
matters. That matters actually.
Well,
Does it?
that was the thing, like, from the beginning, right? Like, even the earliest effect triggers were like, put in soul, do something 3K, we're like 4K power. It's not new for them to do that.
If you like calling a trigger as a booster doesn't like push you up at all is kind of what is with this card.
Oh yeah, sure. Well,
You
that's
never call these as a booster.
that's especially bad in something like
You never voluntarily call these as boosters. Zorga players know what I'm talking about.
yeah, or
Bastion-
Magnolia
Bastion
too.
Yeah, Magnolia too.
Does anyone call anything but a trigger after grade 1?
Nope. That's all I've seen my friend call.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just every single time. Like, oh, heal trigger. I'll put that over here.
It's just search your deck for a random trigger and call it. That's what the card says.
Yeah, that's what Magnolia. The Magnolia ride line is like when you ride on top of it, call the top card. Literally, always a heal trigger. I'm like, if I see that fucking deer one more time,
Oh, against me, you called the zebra.
the zebra. Wait,
The grade 2.
Deer, one more time.
oh, that's a tiger. That's
What zebra tiger? Whatever it is.
Okay, so maybe not you, but like every other game that I played against Edwin and Omar, friends of ours from college, has just been like heal trigger, crit trigger, heal trigger, frickin' jackalope again. Like just damn it.
Sounds like
I
a
mean, if
player
you're
skill
not
issue.
calling a trigger off of all of your random call skills, you're just playing the game wrong, clearly.
Yeah, like I'm half considering running that goddamn ferret, which I said in our card roundup looks like Murr from Impractical Jokers. So if anyone is into that,
I kid
show.
you not. When I was playing Messiah, people kept saying, "Yo, play Miga. It's so good. It calls a card from top 3 to lock. It also has big power." I cut that thing immediately because I always looked at that top 3, found 3 triggers. I'm just like, fuck this game. Nope, I'm done. You're out of the deck. Out of the deck with you.
Man, Gold Paladin must have been real hard for you.
Every time you play Steve, you'll like draw a trigger and then soul charge a card you wanted to keep.
Yeah, that's a thing too. Electro Spartan, 2 triggers every time. The rest of the show is just gonna be us complaining about like.
Well,
soul
yeah, but
charges.
Electro Spartan also says draw a card if you draw a Gungram, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
it does. I do like Electro Spartan's own right of it. But yes, the front triggers, they do have 4K power. I'm more interested in the skill. So, hot take, they should have given this to all the crit triggers and then made the front triggers give plus 10K shield. If only because if you look at that, like I know people are like, oh, that would make games so slow. Sir, again, have you read Alden? He's huge. He is Dwayne The Rock Johnson. He's ginormous. He's absolutely swole every single time you use him.
True.
We need more ways to guard against things like Alden, sometimes Zorga columns. Like, Zorga's getting some pretty hot stuff this set.
Oh,
Yeah.
that zombie shark. I was like, yes, please.
Oh, that card is so good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna vomit. But like we gotta deal with like the fact that their persona ride turns are insane. Orfists, oh my god, the support for Orfist is best deck noises intensify.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah, you guys got some good stuff so far. Like,
Yeah.
it even looks like a small thing, right? End of battle, kill a token, kill a thing on the other side. Like, you guys get tokens basically for free. So,
Yeah.
that's
And then the
good.
fact that the grade 1 just says, oh, I casually make a 40k column and then draw a card. Yeah, that's cool, right?
Yeah.
That's fine. Like, I feel like our shield numbers need, like, here's the thing, though. That would have bad premium implications because that just power creeps the V triggers, right? Which are already insane because those power creep the G triggers, and then we go into this endless cycle of power creep. So my question is for Bushy, what are you going to do about the fact that you guys keep raising the offensive power creep, but it really seems like our defensive power creep, considering you drop grade 1 shield values to 5k, I'm getting a little scared here, Bushy. Like I'm getting a little bit of Vietnam flashbacks from V over here.
Yeah, I
was
was
something we were very concerned about at the beginning of Overdress was, power values have stayed high, but they've reduced shield values across the board.
Which, to be fair, with the lack of cell circles, I'm kind of understand. It's fine. It's cool.
Yeah.
Be good.
There's that, and then like the Persona ride turns, like you only get 3 of those, if at all.
Yeah.
So that combined with now a single card means more in hand, whereas before you would have these hands of like 10 cards, and then it just wouldn't mean anything, right?
Yeah.
But now I think, like, at least in Standard, they're keeping, in the beginning anyway, like power columns, either if it's big, it's either temporary or it takes a lot of resources to get. Alden, you get a Counterblast 2, Soul Blast 1.
Well, not for the power game though. That's just to draw cards.
Yeah, but that's still like a card that's still like effects that you're getting for cards.
Yeah.
And that means something defensively. They're like very restrained on how much power and how resources are given. Like your countercharge soul charge is an on hit, which I was thinking about this today. We're like, oh, we're back in the era of on hit effects. What a pain in the ass. And the more I think about it, I think if they're very like deliberate with how they move forward with their support, on hit effects can produce a very competitive and strategic meta if you keep it in that kind of bubble. Because by the end of V, you just had stuff where it was like, on attack, I get to do like 6 things and kick you in the nuts, and that's just the way it is.
I think the problem with V, and I'm going to use kind of G as kind of a springboard here. G era for a bit was actually kind of lame. Mm-hmm. I don't think G era really kind of figured itself out until after we had G Guardians, like around GBT08.
Yeah.
And the big thing that was lacking in V is that this just had no defensive mechanic at any point. Like G Guardians were kind of the glue that held G together.
Yeah.
Like, they kind
there's also the fact that G gave a lot of draw power to basically every deck, and that meant that you were going to draw into your PGs and high shield value triggers like every time you started your turn. Which I feel like that's a solution that they could do for Overdress, but not now. Like, I don't want to give them G era draw power now.
Yeah,
no.
They're doing great so far. They're doing
so far. I sound like I'm bashing on it. I have to say I love this format. This format is great. I just got back from locals about an hour ago and had a fantastic time with a few guys. They were playing in the Digimon locals, so I thought I'd stop by, see him play Vanguard for a little bit because I was getting an interview from another player for a surprise video I'm working on. Wink, wink. But I love this format. It's great. I'm really, really worried about the direction they're going to take the card design because, again, one set isn't enough for me to fully trust this new design team.
Okay.
Sure. I understand that.
I don't know. What we're seeing so far in set 2, I'm pretty confident, but...
I'm pretty confident. Yeah, I like it. I just... But the front triggers themselves, this does add an interesting dynamic. So... Back in G, the reason why we got the broken stand triggers was because stands were fucking garbage, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody played stands. They were awful. You were better off just playing crits. You were better off just playing draws. You were better off playing heals because they are the objectively best trigger. And so in order to make stands good, what they did was say, fine, I'll break them, Bushy Roads said, as they went to their crack labs and developed Taro and Raven. And that seems like they're doing that now with fronts, but... on a less crackhead scale, if that makes sense.
Well, because it's the same effect for every nation. Everyone gets one, right? That's it so far.
I wish they got two because I'm a guy that likes my aesthetic and my trigger art. Like if I want to play Space Police Girls in my Police Girl deck and put best deck in best deck, right? There's a difference there.
Root Beer, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna. And also, like, the utility they offer is mostly defensive because, front triggers are kind of weird offensively because, crit triggers obviously just do more damage and game faster. Fronts, it kind of depends on, like, what your board looks like. Sometimes the 10k can matter, but sometimes, let's say, your opponent has been guarding really aggressively and they're at like 2 damage, a front trigger probably doesn't matter if they can just ignore it and take the hit. So adding a bit of defensive utility to them is a nice look.
I will say I kind of miss like this is something that like this is a debate actually I want to bring up at some point, but not here because it's a completely separate topic. But I miss the days when your trigger lineup was essentially your spell cards like in Yu-Gi-Oh! They had a variety of good effects. And you had to pick and choose them for your actual like trigger lineup. But now we have actual spell cards in the form of orders. So I'm wondering like what orders with effects would look like in Overdress. Like I really like the Shove and Soul draw card because you're getting rid of huge shield values to get some resources and maybe draw a potentially better card. I think triggers with effects would be interesting to Overdress to see, like not just the front triggers, like just any kind of triggers in general, because now you're looking at a completely different way to play the game. It's, oh, I have 15k shield, which is very valuable because the numbers are so friggin' high. I can use it, however, for a cool effect instead of just holding it in my hand if I feel like I can possibly push for more pressure this turn. So I hope that the front triggers are a start to what is like this. Obviously, this means that every V front trigger is now just power crept out of premium for existence. But I really want to see what they'll do with the rest of the triggers and if they'll make effect triggers like a mainstay staple of the game. I really hope they do because I really like that dynamic.
Yeah. Well, also now because there's less clans, quote unquote, just the nations, you're not incentivized to try and come up with a whackety schmackety effect for every clan for some sort of identity. You have you'd have 5, 6.
We don't count that one. That one's not real.
No, we count it because root beer.
It's not real. It can't hurt me. My therapist said it doesn't exist.
The sea was angry that day, my friends. Anyway, so if they're gonna do release effect things, I think it's in their best interest to just do the same effect for everybody and just leave it at that. And I think that also incentivizes them to not go, hey, I really love Shadow Paladin. Can you make the Shadow Paladin one broken? Now you're stuck.
Yeah.
Shadow Paladin makes us a lot of money. Can you make them really broken?
Can you make it broken? Can you just make Raven, but it's on a front trigger, please? I will say I do like the fact that because we now have 6. Fine, I'll acknowledge the 6th one. We have 6 nations. Because we only have 6 little different colors to work with, we could possibly make unique effects for each nation. But then you have this really interesting dynamic in premium because that is objective. Well, not right now because haha loops, but because that format could be so interesting if they give us all these triggers with all these interesting effects that go into 5 or 6 different other decks. If they made a Dragon Empire one, a Keter one that was Shove and Soul and Draw a card that is suddenly a consistency buff for 6 different decks in premium. And if they made a red one that's the same thing, it's the same idea there. But if they made a red one that did say a very Kagero-like effect, I don't know, Counterblast 1, retire a back row rear guard, you've suddenly given some extra versatility to every red deck in premium. So if they make triggers with unique effects, you've got a very interesting dynamic going on there, and it's very interesting game design space that I really want them to play with.
Well said. Do we have anything else that we want to say about front triggers, or?
The art for the Brant Gate one is ugly. It doesn't look enough like best deck.
Do we think so with the current buff to front triggers, so the 5k shield, I think this kind of gives some benefit for Zorga to play them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Zorga was already kind of maybe on there, maybe not. But I still don't think Bastion would play it.
I had a debate with my friend on Bastion fronts in Bastion because I personally think that the shield value in Bastion, obviously the front effect is poo-poo garbage, you don't care about it, but the shield value in Bastion is what matters the most because you are playing literally your entire deck is grade 3s. You need the shield value. So we got into this little, I want to say scuffle, over what Bastion build was better. Do we play draws or fronts? And now we have he eventually convinced me draws were better, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. So I'm playing draws in Bastion currently, but I feel like this is enough to bring up the conversation again, because like 20k shield in Bastion seems pretty good if you ask me. We already got that in an order. There's no such thing as too many 20k shields.
I just can't wait for somebody to check a front and then like not actually check a grade 3 and be like, all right.
Oh, okay, all right, I'm done. I scoop.
That's why you play Lepisto.
There's I guess rumblings that we're gonna start seeing deck lists with like 7 crit and then 4 front. Depending on the nation, which is
I just want sissy 7 crit 5 drawback as in
yeah. I think if we like, depending on how good your advantage engine is, you can probably make that work. If Magnolia gets some better advantage engine, I think I would do the front thing, just because outside of Persona Ride, you can't really buff your front outside of the Mantis, and you're usually using it on your back row guys for that Persona Ride turn. So I feel like that would be a good use of it. I already run crits and fronts in Bruce because I just want to kill them.
Whack.
Yeah.
So that's actually one thing I wanted to say as well with that, is that I feel like set 2 needs to not only do this, but like if they're making extra fronts for every nation, they now need to make, not necessarily with effects, but they need to make extra triggers for every nation in every single art style, because first of all, 12 crit supremacy, fight me. Second of all,
preaching to the choir, man.
But I really feel like that this is a cosmetic thing. People really like it when their trigger lineup like matches the aesthetic of what the deck they're playing. Like people really like that. Like if I'm playing Night Rose, the new Stoica triggers go away. You are ugly. You are not a cute vampire girl. Go away. You do not belong in my deck. I will be putting Rough Seas Banshee in. Thank you very much. Or in best deck, for example, I hate the fact that I have to play a Space Police girl as a critical trigger when they're supposed to be best deck, which is Chaos, which is obviously the greatest thing ever created because it's Chaos. I really want my trigger lineup, and this again is just a complete OCD thing. If we made an extra trigger for every deck that they could play, like if now we have 8 draws, now we have 16 criticals, like now we can, but that also means that the people who want their entire trigger lineup to look one certain way are also happy. So what they need to do is they need to double the amount of triggers in the game currently. They need to print 2 more critical triggers for each nation, 1 more draw for each nation, and maybe 1 more heal for each nation. I don't think that's necessary though, because we already have a heal for each aesthetic, and you don't need to run more than 4. So that one's a bit iffy, but it really comes down to
just
what
run a
the
2-2 split of heal triggers.
Yeah, boy.
Well, that's gonna get done just with time, right?
Right.
So
I feel like set 2 should do it though, because like the faster we get to 12 crit supremacy, the better.
Oh god, I don't know.
I want 12 crit Hexa Orb. That would be nice.
I'm down.
I bet it would be too.
I'll just run 3 heals with the Overtrigger. It's fine.
Well, even if they did make all crits, I still think that like people would still play draws. Like an argument I've heard against doubling the amount of triggers is like, oh, now there's no reason to play draws, and I'm like, that's just wrong. They're ride deck fodder. They draw cards. They are discard fodder. Like they're still very good. And yeah, I really feel like we could get away with just giving everybody more triggers, because I really like the idea of making triggers not so cut and dry.
Yeah. So I guess that leaves it to the audience person. The audience person. I don't think I've called them that like that before. Anyway, what do you think about?
I'm going to be using audience person in my hello audience persons in my videos from now on. That is now what they're referred to as.
Take it and run.
Let's go.
So how do you think Overtriggers should be fixed? Do you think they need to be fixed? And what do you think about fronts getting this newfangled 5k extra shield? Tell us what you think on the Twitters at Nexus at Night, or on Instagram. Leave us a review on your podcast app of choice. We're now doing it through Anchor instead of Buzzsprout, so I think it's on more apps now. Not entirely
Yay,
sure.
saving money.
Saving money.
Hey, let's go.
And speaking of money, patreon.com/Nexus at Night. Help us pay for our equipment and cards and stuff and like gas and food and rent. You get bonus content. You get a whole ass bonus show every week, and you get early video access plus a whole lot more. Guys, where can they find you on the interwebs?
You can find me on Twitter at Wiggums, 2Gs, 2Zs.
Find me at Plasma Eclipse.
You can find me on Twitter at Ty Sensei Sama. That's TySenseisama. You can also find me on my YouTube, which they said they will be linking in the description below. So, yeah, awesome. You can find me there. The channel name is TeamGalaxyBrain. I barely make content because the videos I make require godly amounts of editing, but I have some very exciting stuff coming up involving Overdress. So be subscribed, hit that bell, do all the fun things that influencers tell you to do at the end of their videos.
Yeah, just don't use the phrase notification squad. That's like the most punchable thing a YouTuber can do. Notification squad? Go fuck yourself.
Notification squad.
Ring the little bell so YouTube can actually do its fucking job.
You ring the little bell so that YouTube will tell you when I actually upload videos in like the every 3-month cycle. YouTube does not appreciate my once every cycle of the moon upload schedule.
Oh no, not even that. That's like fiscal quarters. Could be worse.
Think about fiscal quarters anymore.
Could be worse. You could be an oversimplified fan. He uploads like once a year. Yeah. But you can find me at Atlas Novak, Twitter, Instagram. I'm also producing a new podcast called Generation Dan. Me, a Gen X, and a Gen Z stand-up comedian talk about stuff that generations might see a little differently. And that'll be coming out in a few weeks, so stay tuned for that. The pilot episode is on our Patreon, which, again, check it out. Help us out. And until next time, I was Atlas.
I'm Matt.
I'm Root Beer.
I'm Chad.
He's a Chad. And have a good night,
Chad.
everybody.